And the doctors never said how long he had. We never asked that question. But a social worker came in and started walking us through the options. Markham had some specific medical help he needed with an NG tube, and he was on fentanyl. And you can't just go wherever you want to go with those types of medical, I don't know what the right word is.
Well, some were devices, some were procedures, and some were protocols. And I think one of the things that we learned about with hospice care, because this was now a decision we were all making, primarily Markham and his wife Jennifer, but we were all supporting. You know, there's a lot state by state that is different in hospice care, medical care, certainly pain management and treatment, which we had no idea about. Here we are in Manhattan, you know, New York City, at the epicenter of, you know, world-renowned cancer research and protocols. And yet we were still a little dumbfounded on, well, what if we wanted to move to Pennsylvania? What if he wanted to go back to Connecticut? What if we wanted to go to New Jersey? What the individual state rules, regulations, and hospice care would allow at various different levels, whether it was fentanyl versus morphine versus Dilaudid versus NG tube, life-sustaining versus TPN, which is, you know, food supplements. Like, what did people allow and how do you figure that out? Thankfully, the workers at Memorial Sloan Kettering did a lot of the research for us once they got to understand the case. But all of that culminated in hesitation on our part and Markham's part, certainly, and Jennifer's part, and all of us, what is best? That was the hesitation.
Yeah, I mean, this idea of hospice is, you know, I mean, we've been through it 3 times. We know what the word is associated with. It's end of life. It's helping you pass away as comfortable as you can be. And here's Markham, a 41-year-old who's sitting up in bed in the hospital. You know, he could get out if he had to, but he's got to say, okay, I'm ready to go somewhere else and pass away. That is a very hard decision for any human to make. I don't know how he did it. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know how he processed it. But it took us quite some time because it kind of felt like surrender. It felt like I'm not going to fight anymore. But also at the same time, peace started to slowly replace fear. And Markham had the final say and said, okay, let's find a place.
You know,
and the process was so arduous and hard because we didn't want to say what we were thinking. We were letting Markham and Jen lead the discussion, and we weighed in. I think it took us probably 9 days to finally decide where, right?
Yeah, I think actually, you know, I was in the room with Markham. I had stayed overnight with him, and we were, you know, chatting like we did in the mornings, and the nurses were in and out trying to get him ready. And I remember the head of pain management came in, and we had not seen her before. And, you know, the big question for MSK was, well, what is your plan when you leave here? Because ultimately you have to leave here. You're no longer a cancer patient.
And you need a plan. You can't just walk out the front door.
And that's not a negative against Memorial Sloan Kettering, which is the number one, you know, one of the number one cancer hospitals in the world, but we were no longer cancer treatment patients. So what is your plan? And we were struggling as a group, as a team, as a family, as individuals to figure out what the best plan was. And I think you're right. I think it took at least 4 or 5 days for us to get our head around things. But that one morning that I was sitting with Markham, and in walked this woman that I had never seen before, and she was head of pain management, and she was probably my age, and she started asking very thoughtful questions, and she turned to both me and Markham and said, have you thought of a place in New Jersey where a lot of your needs could be met because we send quite a few patients there? And I was like, you know, what is this mythical place you talk about in New Jersey? You know, like, we've done a lot of research. We have not come across it. And it was interesting as she started to detail, because she had been there. Memorial Sloan Kettering had sent a lot of patients there. The doctors had gone to seminars there. They've done a lot of audit of processes. They were confident in nursing. And I guess the biggest part was they were very confident in what was going to be offered to the family and the support system for both Markham and Jen while we were there. And we hadn't thought about that piece, right? We were thinking about what's best for the patient.
Well, we had visions of us doing hospice in their apartment. We had visions of us doing hospice at what was the hospital in New York that does hospice? Calvary. We had visions of a clinical, sterile, cold environment where Markham would be in a bed and there'd be some nurses coming in and out, and we'd come in and out of the room and just watch him slowly pass away. And when this doctor said this place is called Villa Marie Claire in Saddle River, New Jersey, you can Google it and see the website. So we shared that website amongst everybody, Jen, Markham, me, and you look at this, and we'll put the link below, because if anyone who's watching this ever needs hospice and you're thinking of a place that would be helpful as we talk more about what this place is all about, it was the most amazing experience that we have ever had in our life, and we've been through 3 other hospice scenarios. This place was off the charts amazing, and it was, I think we describe it in a minute, but